1. Can we have a roll call, please?
Let's see. Student trustee Schuler. Here. Student trustee Sardo. Yeah. Student trustee Perez. And student trustee Sang. Here. And trustee Tejada. Here. Trustee Lee.
Here.
Trustee Walker.
Here.
Vice President Gallegos. And President Slagedy.
Present, thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Superintendent Costa, I didn't mean this agenda before we approve.
There is one change. We're going to pull item 17B3, which is resolution 2023-2024-10.
With that change, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next. I'm going to report out on closed session. During sort of closed session, the board took action and approved the comprehensive school safety plans. And that was all the action that we took. Now turning it over to, or going over to recognitions and commendations.
We move back up to the approval of the minutes on item 9.
I'm so sorry. I know I was doing something wrong. Thank you so much. Can I get approval of the minutes for the meeting on January 30th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I was like, I feel like I skipped something.
we're good
and
now.
that's what was throwing me off. Okay, now we're moving to recommendations and recognitions. And we are starting with our February student of the month. Turning it over to, to our principal of Terra Nova, Megan Carey.
Thank you. Okay. So with great pleasure, Terra Nova High School honors Malika McLean as the February 2024 Student of the Month for the Jefferson Union High School District. Malika embodies not just academic excellence, but also compassion, empathy, and a dedication to the betterment of her communities at Terra Nova and beyond. Malika is not only a scholar with an impressive resume of personal accomplishments, but she is also a beacon of light radiating kindness. She is a top student in the class of 2024 and has consistently demonstrated an exemplary academic performance across all of our AP courses. Her remarkable work ethic, a thirst for knowledge, coupled with her innate curiosity, sets Malika apart as a standout student. As we often say, leadership is defined not only by one's title or position, but by their ability to inspire, empower, and guide others towards common objectives. A true leader is someone who not only excels in their own endeavors, but also uplifts those around them, who fosters a sense of unity and a purpose within their community. And this is Malika. From her initial steps as our freshman class president, over Zoom nonetheless, to her current leadership roles as ASB president and editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, Malika has blossomed into a shining example of leadership. She has consistently demonstrated a remarkable ability to inspire and guide her peers. She's the first to not only notice problems, but to propose solutions. She leads with integrity and intention. She is demanding but kind, tall and humble. And I personally vividly recall a pivotal moment this school year during the planning of a school rally when I witnessed Malika's unwavering resolve in the face of a crisis. With unforeseen challenges threatening to derail ASB's efforts, Malika remained composed and focused. She adeptly juggled multiple tasks while also ensuring the concerns and needs of her fellow students were heard and taken into consideration. She was resilient, empathetic, and inclusive. These qualities and so many more were on full display in this moment, and it showcased her genuine commitment to serving others, which was not only inspiring, as it definitely left an indelible mark on me, and I'm sure on those who were fortunate enough to work alongside her. Because in a world that often prioritizes individual success above all else, it's truly inspiring to encounter a student like Malika. She understands the importance of giving back and making a difference in the lives of others. And this extends beyond her work around the Terra Nova campus, as she volunteers weekly at a local hospital. She was also the Terra Nova representative at last summer's Girl State. And she attended a I got this at the last minute. A cardiothoracic surgical skills summer internship at Stanford last summer. She's also a competitive gymnast, reaching level 9, and is also her team captain. So it's hard to avoid superlatives when you speak about Malika. Oftentimes there aren't enough. Her personality and smile radiate light and positivity. She shines brightly among her peers. She's brilliant and organized, optimistic and incredibly hardworking. She is caring and compassionate. And all of these are coming from her teachers and fellow staff members at Terra Nova High School. And there are countless examples of times when Malika has stepped up to support a friend or other student. As Ms. Meskin shares, Malika has been a bright light during some dark times over the past few years. I first met her in my 9th grade enriched English class. There were quite literally days when her face and smile were all I had in a sea of black Zoom boxes. I cannot tell you how much it meant to me as a teacher to have her show up every day, camera on, with a huge smile on her face. Her only complaint during distance learning was that the other students wouldn't talk. She is one of the few students I really got to know during that strange time. And I know that all of her teachers also say how truly remarkable of a student she is, with a brilliant mind. But Malika is more than just that. She's a loyal friend, a powerful leader, and someone who has managed to maintain her sweetness and innocence that many young people have lost due to the challenges of the pandemic. She's an integral part of our school community and has truly left a lasting imprint on Terra Nova. And with this, I agree wholeheartedly. She has had an extreme impact on our school. She has made our school a better place, but it's also exemplified the ideals and values that we all strive for in our daily lives. And there will be no surprise to any of us at Terra Nova if one day in the future we see her name on the ballot for President of the United States or as the lead pediatric surgeon at a local hospital. And when that time comes, we will be proud to call her a Terra Nova Tiger. Congratulations.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up at this time for any board comments.
Okay, so I do want to say it is the greatest pleasure to call you my friend. I am so glad I get to spend every single day with you. And just to be able to hear that you are voted and you are the person that is winning Student of the Month for our whole school. Out of all these students that Miss Carey could have chosen, she chose you. And there's a reason. And I think that the amount of work you put in every day in school, in any random thing you're doing outside of school, and in all of your friendships are finally, you're getting the recognition you deserve. And I was thinking about this, but I was going to quote one of our favorite people, Noah Khan, is that you're going to go far and you're going to go really, really damn far in life, Malika.
Any other student trustees?
Hi, Malika. You probably don't remember me, but I really remember you from like a summer leadership district-wide student like leadership conference that we had at Westmore. And I remember you talking to me, and then we also had the same like nutrition enrollment class together. So yeah, like I just feel like you're a very like top performing student, and I hope you go far, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Hi, Malika. So I'm really proud that you're one of our students in this district. I mean, you really exemplify what we want in all of our students here in our community. What I heard from what Miss Carey said, that you have a real commitment to serving others, and in everything you do, extracurricular or within the community, it's clear that your kindness, how compassionate you are, it resonates in everything that you do. And I think that that's who you are. And I want to thank your parents and your family for raising such an amazing person and supporting her, because you had to have gotten a lot of support. And you do just radiate right now. And I can't wait to see what you do. And I will vote for you, even if you're not, even if we're not in the same
Political party.
But congratulations, very deserving.
Congratulations, Malika. I've known your family for many years now, so I am certainly extremely proud of you and your accomplishments. And I know the stock from which you come from and the amount of support and love your parents have given you to help you achieve all of this. And the work you've done on your own. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to see all the work you've done these past few years. And I am so excited to see what you're going to do next. And I know you will go far. You will continue to make us all proud. And I know those people sitting next to you are extremely proud of you. They're beaming, and I see the tears flowing from your mom. But yes, I'm so happy for you and for your family. Congratulations.
Hello. You look familiar to me, and I don't know if it's from Valamar. Maybe it's gymnastics. So I want to talk about this gymnastics thing. So I don't know who knows what about gymnastics. My son did gymnastics, and while I'm waiting, I read all this stuff on the wall. So to get to level 9, you got to do the first 8 levels first. And like the first level is you got to do this on beam, and you got to do this on bars. And then level 2 is like, you got to do the same thing on beam. You got to do a half twist. And then by the time you get to level 3, my eyes are crossed. So congratulations on that. That's quite an achievement. It's very impressive to hear everything that you've done. I encourage you to keep pushing, but to also enjoy the journey. I think sometimes some of us miss that. Rosie says she wants to vote for you, and just a couple of years you can run for my spot. And I'll be happy to support you. Keep us posted. Maybe not me, maybe Mrs. Carey, maybe someone else on the board, about what you're doing and how it's going. So congratulations.
I will just echo what my colleagues have said. I was very impressed reading your bio. We get to meet a lot of our students briefly in these meetings. And so we're just getting a little flash of who you are and what you've accomplished. But I mean, one of the superlatives that weren't in there and sometimes aren't attributed to women was just fierceness. Mm-hmm. Like your fierce determination to just push forward, regardless of what it's in front of you. And so I know a lot of time, especially towards women, those type of attributes are seen as negative, but I hope you continue to do so no matter what anybody says to you. That you continue to just lead with your passion, with your empathy, and be courageous. So I'm always just amazed to see the things that I fail to see in our adult leaders show up all the time in our teenagers. So thank you so much. It's the things that keep me inspired and going. Thank you to your parents and everyone that came out to support you. And just like my colleagues, I'm very excited to see what you do in the future.
Yeah. Thank you. Malika, I don't even know what to call out. I was sort of taken aback, actually, when I read this. What everybody says is true. Super impressive. I'm very proud of you. I know that your parents are very proud of you. Thoracic surgeon? Is that what you did? Thoracic surgery? That, I don't know why. That of everything was like, what? Super impressive. What jumped out to me too, and it's just evident by your whole aura sitting there, is that you are certainly strong and determined and smart. But what you radiate is a real aura of inclusivity and kindness. And that's what just stands out to me just being in the room with you. So thank you. You're a wonderful representative for Terra Nova.
Thank you. So if we have time, if you wanted to address or make a statement, you can. No pressure. You don't have to. Yeah, you can just wrap up right so everyone can
Come to
hear
the
you in YouTube land.
I like that. No pressure, but come on in here, use this microphone.
I was joking on the way here that, I had my speech prepared, but didn't know that was real. I just want to thank you all for all your words, especially Miss Carrie. That really means a lot to me. I really didn't expect this when I got called down to your office. I thought I was in trouble originally. So this is definitely a surprise, but a pleasant one. And I was so excited to text my family group chat. I think they were a little excited too. But yeah, so thank you for all of you for coming and supporting me and being here for me through everything. And I would not be here where I am today without you or without you, Miss Carrie. And I'm just so grateful for all the opportunities that I've had at Terra Nova and that I've been exposed to, all the people I've been able to meet, and the education I've gotten, and just the past 4 years at Terra Nova I've really loved, and I've taken away so many amazing things, and I hope to then use those things for my future, and I will absolutely come back and share those things with you. And yeah, so thank you so much. I really appreciate everything.
So now we're going to take a photo. So we're all going to come up front, including family, and love chatting with you too. Yeah, last time you're a little confused about that. We didn't really understand the whole time. And I got all those.
Oh, yeah, that was very powerful. That was.
Yeah, thank you.
Like nobody.
Where are we going? Where is there a spotting on the center thing?
We're gonna make it work wherever you guys stand. Wherever my Lincoln is this.
Yeah. We're all, you're in the yeah. And pressing. Then wrap around a little bit over here. There you go. Yeah.
I'll pull it right now. First full, right? For this.
All right, next one down in space.
Right, everyone. Right.
Yeah, all the way up. There, yes, I-
Yeah.
No, set up.
Yeah. If I can get it.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You want to use this one too?
Oh,
Okay.
I usually never, I mean, sometimes that's, you know.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, Terra Nova, they're open. I know. I was just telling me she was in level 9.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna call us back to order. Hello guys, I'm gonna call us back to order. You guys, yeah. Do you need to take off?
Oh, that's okay.
You sure? Okay. Do what you need to do if you need to. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start with our board report and going first to our student trustees. So our trustee from Oceana.
All right, so Oceana is going to be beginning planning for our spring fling semi-formal Seaside Serenade. And we are also planning for our next rally, and the theme is yet to be revealed, but we're hoping it will be really popular with our student body. Interim week for us is also coming up in the first week of April, which everyone is really excited for. And finally, the freshman and sophomore classes are collaborating with the Enrollment Committee of Oceana to host a spring festival in March, and it's going to be open to Oceana students as well as prospective students aimed at 8th graders. We're hoping this will increase enrollment or at least provoke interest.
And then at Terra Nova, we are currently working on our 4th Spirit Week, and our theme is Star Wars for this week. And we are collaborating with Cancer Kids First for a donation drive to the USF hospital for kids in the cancer ward. And then we're also currently working on our Special Olympics that will be happening at the end of April, which will include all of the Jefferson Union special ed programs and some surrounding middle schools. The class of 27 just also finished their candy grams for Valentine's Day, which are distributed tomorrow morning. And I believe that is it for right now.
Thank you.
There's for Westmore currently there's LPAC testing going on. Unfortunately, we had a power outage last week, so we only went to school for a day. But currently, Westmore is doing celebrations of Lunar New Year and Hearts. We're also celebrating Black History Month, and What Club, which is like an art club in our school, is doing Valentine's Day Grams. And then Winter Food Fair is going to be held at the end of the month. As for sports, tonight is senior night for basketball and cheer, and yesterday was soccer senior night. And I believe that 4 students are qualified in CCS and wrestling.
Yeah, so for Jeff, just recently, we just had our Mission Fusion performances, which personally I didn't attend this year, but I've heard was spectacular. So there was that. And then coming up, baseball season is just around the corner. We got a blood drive coming up on March 4th. Grizzly Garage Band Club is passing out Valentine's grams tomorrow. We had our Foods Day a couple weeks ago, and yesterday it started. We're having a Mario Kart Wii tournament during lunch. So that's that. I'm gonna just end it on that.
Wow, that's cool. I wonder if any teachers are signing up for that. Probably. Yeah, so I attended the Student Advisory Council meeting last night. It's always a good time to connect with our students and see what they're doing. I was able to go to Mission Fusion. It was spectacular. And 3 of our student trustees from Jefferson were in the production. And sorry, not you. Not this year, previous years, yeah. And so just congratulations to Ms. Mansell, Mr. Paniza, all of the students who worked so hard on this for months and months. And just really excited to have gone to this production.
Yeah, I was able to attend student advisory last night. That was good, my second one, and I'm enjoying just sort of hearing the words that our students have to share and the work that they're doing. So excited to see what the your reports will look like in a few weeks for sure. So that's pretty much it. Otherwise, lots of other meetings I've been involved with.
Most notably, I was able to make it last week to senior night at Jefferson High School for girls basketball. It's pretty exciting, and I think that Vice President Gallegos' cheering squad made up pretty much the Jefferson side of the fans. It was pretty cool to see them as that one in. That same night, I also attended mock trial and saw Oceana compete and advance to the semifinals, which are tonight. That's it. Thank you.
I also attended Mission Fusion, which was fantastic. And again, congratulations to the entire team. I know a lot of work and effort goes into the production of that show. And then personally, I would like to say congratulations to Mary Beer, who received the 2024 George, I think, Seymour Hall of Fame Award, due to work that she's done helping with addiction recovery. And anybody that knows Mary, she's just one of the greatest human beings on the face of the earth. I mean, just flat out. And so I am glad that she is a member of the Daly City Youth Health Center. And I am very glad that she's been recognized for the work that she's done for us, as well as the work that she's been doing in this subject and this topic for years, outside and inside of the district. And then the other personal congratulations I want to give is to my other friend, Hector Camacho, who was honored and given the James Irvine Award in Sacramento yesterday for his work with Breach University, which members of our district are a part of. And that's a organization that is looking to help with the teacher pipeline issue and looking inside our schools. We have some of the most dedicated employees working inside of our schools. And some of the greatest connections with students are our paraprofessionals and other employees that are in the school district who have been here for a while, love us, love our students. And I'm so glad that this program has given them the opportunity to rise up to the place where I feel like they belong. So congratulations to both of them.
All right. I'm going to list out some things because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. So I too went to Mission Fusion and it was great as always. I really enjoyed it and I'm always really, really impressed with the talent. I want to say, I'm just impressed with how all of the students in the show are so, they're very present and free, and the dancing, it looks like they've all been taking professional dance lessons for their lives. And I think most of them didn't start until they got to high school. So it's really impressive. We had all the administrators in the district have been participating in a leadership series this year, focused on ethnic studies. So I'm proud of that and excited at the good work that we're doing. And we had one of our sessions last week. I also attended the Sunset Soiree at Skyline. And it was fun. A lot of local, it's put on by the Chamber of Commerce. And so it was a really nice event and a good opportunity to sort of mingle in the community. We had a school site board meeting last week at Oceana. So it's always good to talk with our teachers and staffs. We have ongoing work, Ms. Baca and I, along with the team, working with the National Equity Project. And we had a good meeting last week. And then I met with one of the National Equity Project leaders today as well. So a lot of good work there. And then I wasn't there, but on Saturday, future grads did a personal narrative writing whole day at Skyline College, which really gives students the opportunity to spend a lot of time on their personal narrative, which is a key aspect of getting into college. So just want to give future grads a plug. So lots of good things happening in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I don't know if anyone has any report out of their subcommittees. Nope. Okay. Turning it over to our union. President Casey from 1481.
Good evening. Thank you. I just want to remind everyone that we're in negotiations and to wear their union t-shirts on Wednesdays or any other day, just to show support for the staff. Again, we are negotiating 5 contracts, so almost all of the staff is involved in this. I've gone to a few of the items mentioned, the soiree with Ms. Presta and Mission Fusion, and I'm so proud of our students and our staff. And I'm also proud of some things coming up in CFT.
So we have a special education summit that is during break. So I will not be attending that, but we do have a special education teacher that will be attending, someone who hasn't been involved. And I'm very excited to have a new person get involved in the union work that we do. And in March, we have a leadership summit from CFT, and we have 2 teachers that are going to go to that. So it's very exciting to see people get involved, and I really appreciate it. So we've expanded our negotiations team to get more people involved, and it seems like that's helping people see what we do as a union. So thank you.
Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is approval of consent. Unless there's any objection, can I get a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and now it's going in. We're going to move on to, that takes a little while to scroll. Do we have any public comments? No, we don't have any cards. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. Our first item up is education services, our English language development program updates. And that is, who am I turning it over to? Oh, yeah, turning it over to Deputy Superintendent Baca.
Good evening, President Salahuddin. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Lori Robinson provide us with great updates about our English language development program. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you so much.
Hello. This is my first time with these microphones. Is this on? Just already? Okay, thank you. Wouldn't want to get started and that would be embarrassing. So hello, yes, my name is Lori Robinson. I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Accountability here at the district, which really means one of the areas that I oversee is the program for students learning English, or you may know it better as like English language development. Statewide, they're called English learners, immigrant students that are new to the country. And so I'm going to give you some demographic information, some, highlights of some goals and some accomplishments. But really what I'm the most excited about talking about tonight is a sort of proposed bridge program. And so that's where we're going to spend the bulk of our time. I am in control. So yes, that's what I just went over. I should have had that slide up. So first, I always just kind of like to give you an update about our demographics, like what the English learner population looks like currently. This chart rarely changes, but I like to include it in this yearly update because I think it tells an important story about our districts. These are the classifications of how students are broken down in terms of their language ability. When parents come in and register, they take a home language survey. And if there's a language other than English answered for any one of those survey questions, they're assessed. And if they are determined by this assessment to be fluent in English, ready to go, they're that IFEP, that's the initially fluent English proficient. If it seems like they still need some support in developing their English skills, they're EL, English learner. And then they are an English learner until they can reclassify, meet some criteria, including testing, in order to say, now you're fluent English proficient. What I think is cool, though, is that when you see that group of people, that's more than half of our district. It's 43% that are just designated, English only. This is my co-presenter. Wait, come on up. She's late. We're not going to rub that in her face. Too much. Hey, it is 7:30. It's 7:35. But what I love is that means like more than half of our district students have lives touched by other languages in some shape or form. I live in a bilingual household myself. I value what other languages, bring to experiences and things we can share. So that's why I always like to bring that slide to your attention. This is another slide that I always find interesting. We've had some real changes this year in terms of where students are coming in from. This is just data from fall semester. So that doesn't include the 20 some students that have come in since the start of spring. A lot of this is our countries that we typically see, the Philippines, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Brazil, Yemen, but we've got some new ones. Venezuela, a lot of students now we're getting from Venezuela, kind of cool. And a little less from El Salvador. Very interesting, some singleton countries too. Like we have one of the first Cuban students that I think that we've ever received. Also, I practice saying this, but Turkey, is encouraging people to actually say their country the right way. And I think it's Turkiya. Is how, you say it now. We have a student from Turkiya. It's just interesting to get to talk to different people with different experiences, different cultures, all of that. So it's been neat. Speaking of the increased number of students, this was again just comparing fall of this last year to fall of the year prior. And you can see we had 17 students more tested. And actually, since we've already had 20 come in just since the beginning of the year, we've already at this point today tested more students than we did all of last year. So our numbers are increasing, which I think is great. It's really hard to tell though and predict. And so it does put strain on some of our classes. And I just really want to acknowledge our wonderful ELD teachers that are throughout the district. Especially, I want to shout out Lori Collins at Westmore High School. She had to take on an extra ELD1 class this last semester and actually dropped like a TOSA position that she does. Oh, that's not my presentation. Uh-oh, as my son would say. Anyway, thank you, Jake. And to accommodate for that extra, amount of students. And I just really appreciate that because it's so hard. My crystal ball, it's just not very good. I need a better one to find these trends. But as you can see, more students are coming and overall that's a net positive. So this is one of the things that I am really excited to brag on because see that green indicator? It's our only one in the district. Yeah. And it's for, our English learner program. And I don't mean to, trash on the other indicators, but it's exciting to be this lone little green one. And also I'm going to say this, I'm not going to name district names, but we may be the only green one in that indicator around the area. And so let me talk about what that actually means. What that means is, when students come in and they take that test initially, they also have to take one every year. But it is for good reason. We're supposed to make sure they're making progress because so much of our instruction is in English. We want to make sure that we're giving folks the tools to be able to do well on that. And so we want to see that they're making progress. And so when they take this test, it's graded in 4 levels. And obviously, it would be very hard if you only have 4 levels to go from a 1 to a 2 or a 2 to a 3. So the state helps us a little bit, even though it makes it much more complicated, by kind of dividing up those levels. So they're saying, okay, we want to see that when a student comes in, if they were a 1 year, maybe then they at least make it to be a low 2, or they go from a low 2 to a high 2. And so as they go along, they measure it based on that. And then they look, okay, so what percentage then of those students are at least going up 1 level? Because we want to see students at least going up 1 level, ideally, because this is a yearly exam over the course of a year. They also look, and so that's that purple percentage. And this is for the district. And the first column is for what we did last year, 2022. And then the next column, 2023. So comparing 1 year to the other, we're always a year behind in terms of data because of how it's reported out. And so the teal number is students that at least stayed the same. They didn't go down. And then hot pink is going down. So hot pink, hot mess. Don't want to have that number be high. So you'll see that in 2023, we did pretty well. We shrunk the numbers that are good to shrink by a little bit there with the 16%, 35%, and really increased then students that are at least making we almost got to the halfway point district wide of students that are making at least one level increase. But with that, I do have to shout out one school, not to make them seem like they're all special and have it go to their head, but it's because they did something different that I just want to note that we're going to be doing at the rest of the district schools. We're doing currently. It is LPAC season again. And that is Jefferson High School. When you see what they were able to do, that's their 2022 compared to their 2023. They went from 36.4% of students that were making one level to 52.7. I mean, that's over half of the students going up a level, and that's a huge percentage jump there. And really what happened, and I can have Lisa kind of speak to this. She's the TOSA, the teacher on special assignment that works specifically with this population and with the English language development teachers, is that we changed the testing environment. And it sounds so simple, but these tests have a lot of pressure to test all the students and to meet the participation rate. So previously, when we tested students, we were kind of like, good, you're here, take the test and take as much of the test as you can so that we can get you to count. But I'm looking at a bunch of students right now where I know if you've ever taken a multiple choice state test, after you've read like the third passage and your fourth multiple choice question, you are over it. And so we've planned these tests now to break them up a little bit more so that students are just seeing little chunks at a time so that their testing endurance sort of like is able to stay up, and also making sure they're in testing environments where they know the person they're taking the test with, like it's a familiar adult, like teacher. I have 2 testing assistants up at the district office who are lovely, nice people, but they're strangers to most of the students at our school site. And so I do think that can impact how much people take seriously the testing environment. And so we tried that out at Jefferson last year, and I think we can see it had a good impact. So it was a little bit of an extra ask at Terra Nova and Oceana, because I usually predominantly use the district office folks at those sites. But they're taking it on this year, and I'm hoping to see everybody come up with that huge jump. Anything that you want to add to that? Yeah. All right. So last thing here, and Lisa can talk more to these, is that I just want to give a brief update about the 2 LCAP areas, the local control accountability plan. It's like how we're measured as our district and our plan and the services that we're doing. Our 2 areas of focus for as far as this program is concerned is to make students, when they are coming from a different country, feel more welcomed when they're here. I mean, it's a lot to take in when you're coming from a different country. It's a whole different school system and new buildings. So we really wanted to focus on making them feel welcome. And I just want to say Jefferson High School and Westmore High School have done incredible things. They have, including shadowing. I'll have Lisa speak to it more in a second. Shadowing, tours. Yeah. I mean, what else would you add to that?
We review orientation every month for students who arrived in the last month at Jefferson. One of the pieces of feedback that we got was that if students weren't here at the beginning of the semester, then they missed a lot of the orientation that you would get when you come to school. So now every month we have an orientation meeting for anybody who arrived in the last month, where we go over some of the information they got in those first 3 days, but we know that those first 3 days, it's just a barrage of information. That's something that's really positive and helpful.
At the district office for the last year, we've been giving students also just to make them feel like welcome and yay, it's not just tests and a bunch of questions, we give them a backpack and it has some basic school supplies in it. But so then this year at Westmore and Jefferson, they're also giving them something when they walk in the door.
We have sweatshirts that they arrived a couple weeks ago. We're excited to start giving them out. And we also have water bottles. And I'm sorry to all the teachers, they're metal, so they're just going to drop in the classroom constantly.
Loud, but community building. And with that, to measure our progress with this, we do a survey with the families after they finish a part of the process. And the DO is continuing to do that to good feedback. And I'm hoping to get it started at the school sites so that they can get feedback on their part of the process from families too. I'm going to be very brief about the college and career indicator. This one was kind of on hold. They're not giving like a dashboard indicator in the same way of like red, green, orange. They're doing still high, medium, low. So there's going to be a lot more updates in 24, 25. But there are some good changes on the horizon that I think are just worth noting. One is that CTE has been afforded, so Denise and Corinne worked to get a grant that will allow more bilingual paraprofessionals, us to hire more bilingual paraprofessionals that will get to be in CTE classes. The hope then being that more students learning English will be able to take those classes. And then they've made some changes to the state seal of biliteracy that Lisa's going to talk about.
The exciting change that they made to the state seal of biliteracy was that previously, in order to qualify for it, you needed to reclassify on the LPAC for the English side of the state seal of biliteracy. And so that was really hard for a lot of our students who were more recent immigrants to meet the English side of the threshold. We know that they are meeting the foreign language side, but a change that they've made is that you no longer have to reclassify. Instead, you just have to demonstrate proficiency on the oral language part of it. So that opens up the state seal of biliteracy to a lot more students. I think there's like 15, 20 that are now eligible that would not have been previously eligible.
Yeah, it was really frustrating before that it seemed kind of tipped in the scale of favor of like somebody who had learned English all their life and then learned a second language than somebody who had, a language other than English who was learning English. So those are all, I mentioned that under the college and career indicator because students get there's a big list of things that they can get to fulfill to demonstrate that they're college and career ready and completing CTE pathways and state seal of biliteracy are two ways to do that. So that there's going to be increased access is a good thing. It should mean that more students learning English are identified as college and career ready. Anything to add on that? All right, now we get into the fun part. And so this is the Bridge program, which just, by the way, if you are familiar with San Mateo Union High School District and you're like, don't they have a Bridge program? Yep. And we are basically copy pasting that Bridge program. It's a great idea. And I have no problem stealing other people's great ideas as long as I contribute. It is Samia Showman in San Mateo Union is really great and fantastic and has been such a wonderful, welcoming resource. She's invited Lisa and I to go and observe the Bridge program in San Mateo Union many times, has answered plenty of our questions. But, of course, when we bring that program to the district, as we're hoping to, we'll make it our own, to some degree. And so to tell you about Bridge, I'm hoping to tell you through a story of a student that would really, I think, benefit from Bridge. So I'm going to tell you about Ernesto, not his real name. Ernesto is a pseudonym because I don't think he would necessarily want all of his information like this on blast. But his background came from Guatemala on a bus, took him about 2 weeks. It started in the end of September, and I think he eventually got to Texas from Guatemala, which if you look at on a map later, think about taking a bus from essentially the equator almost to Texas. Took 2 weeks. And he ended up then in a center in Texas for about 17 days. He reports that while he was there, they do attend classes while they're at the kind of holding center. waiting, and that he also would help other, people his age there feel more comfortable, because a lot of them are scared and unsure of, what's next. He is here instead of in Guatemala, where a lot of his family still resides, because he wants to finish school here in the hopes of getting a good paying job and sending money back home to mom. That's a big motivating factor for him. Just personally, he reports that he loves playing guitar, bass, and piano. I'm impressed. I don't play any of those. And that he has specific goals to go to college. He specifically says he wants to work in tech. I'm like, do you just want to work in tech because you think that that's a high paying job? Because he was definitely like very focused on that, but he wants to also continue education, which makes his circumstances really frustrating. This is one of those ones where you get his intake information at registration, and when I'm reviewing it, it starts to slowly sort of crack your heart, because he reports all of these things. He's been through all of this just to get here. I mean, by the time his registration information was in front of me, it was December 1st. He left Guatemala in September. So you think about everything he's been through. And so he brings us a transcript, and, he turns 18 July 1st. So he should, he's going in as a 12th grader. And since I'm reviewing this in December, he really isn't starting until the second semester. And he only has 2 years of high school credits. So that's a lot to ask somebody to make up just in general in their senior year. On top of that, when we did the language assessment, he tested in at a very low level of English, like almost at our lowest level. He has very little experience with the English language, especially in an academic setting. And so what's frustrating about that is that he's going to need a certain level of English to get to some of those classes that he even needs to take in order to start working on some of those 2-year credits. So, for example, even though he qualifies for something called the California minimum graduation requirements, which has a few less classes, he still needs 2 years of English classes, 1 year of a math, biology, which even if you grew up speaking English is like a foreign language at times, U.S. history, government, and econ. So that's a lot. And those classes that I mentioned at the end there, history, government, and econ, and biology, you can't even start taking until you're at the high, like he's at ELD level 1. You can't start taking those classes until you're at ELD level 2. So it's not just the time limit, but it's, kind of the circumstances of he'll be in just a lot of elective classes that he doesn't necessarily really need. So when I saw his transcript come through, my first thing that I always do is that I reach out to adult school, because he's so close to turning 18 and I want to see what are his options. Would he be able to get a GED? Would he be able to maybe, cobble together some credits to get an adult school diploma? The counselor there, Lisa Lee, determined that he would probably do best with GED. I don't know how much you all know about GED, but it is a long, archaic test that is really, really hard. And we do have prep classes for it, but it's not the same as like the classes that our students are in every day. And so it would be a very hard road for him. So he's close. We get students that actually come in under those circumstances without the 2 years at all of high school credit. Some of them maybe haven't been in school since 6th grade. But they're coming to us at 16, 17, nearly 18 years old, and they want to finish. And so what Bridge is going to potentially do is, the name comes from, is that GED seems like too little support. When you think about somebody like Ernesto going into a Jefferson High School or a Westmore High School, they're going to be in classes from 8:30 to 3:30. They're going to probably be with people much younger than them. I mean, if you all remember, if you're closer to 18 yourself now, and if you're in classes with freshmen, you know that even though it's just 4 years, it feels very different being with a 14-year-old when you were closer to being 18 years old. And as we mentioned before too, he wants to send money back to mom. It is very hard to balance a full-time class schedule with a work schedule, and the flexibility that he'll likely want for that. So what Bridge is really aimed to do, the philosophy behind it, is designed for these students who are coming in with no credit or little to no credits and little experience with English. It's designed to meet their needs specifically by having flexible structures And also, I mean, he touches on it very briefly in his intake interview, but, he spent time in that center in Texas. But some of these students, I mean, they're not leaving their countries for the best of reasons, or they have some experiences along the way before they arrive at in the United States. And so we also want to make sure we're embedding wellness and community by design. I want to be clear that we are not like putting these students somewhere because their situations are difficult. We are instead designing something for their needs because we want to give them the best possible pathway. And so this is just a little, do you want to speak to this, like of what it can look like a little bit practically?
Sure. So we know that when students come, one of the most common classes that they need are English and history, because even if they're coming with transcripts from another country, no country is going to give us classes that we can validate for U.S. history and American government. So our program would have two teachers, ideally to start, an English teacher and a history teacher, so that we can start to get students closer to those graduation requirements, which will also transfer to adult school if that ends up being their path. For the other classes like math and like science, we thought that those might be easier to access through classes like APEX that they could do in the afternoon.
With support.
With support, yeah.
Yeah.
Because APEX by itself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
APEX.
Credit recovery online.
Yeah. Canned online curriculum. So students would take 2 classes a day. Our day would start out with wellness because we want to ground students in why we're here and that community of it. There would be a flex period where students could work on APEX, could do different things, a second class, and then in the afternoon, students could stay to continue working on APEX if they wanted to, or you see that it ends about lunchtime, they would receive a brown bag lunch and be able to go off to work if that is what they needed to do.
And so this is actually going to be housed in the adult school building, but it'll be under Thornton's T names, conflating them, Thornton's school. And that's because Thornton's a continuation high school. And that's how we are able to have those instructional minutes as opposed to the instructional minutes that we would need at like a Jefferson or a Westmore, other schools. Mr. Villalobos is a counselor at Jefferson High School, and we've been in communication with some of the folks that we work with in the Student Learning English program at Jefferson and at Westmore about this program. And so he pulled a few students and during flex time and just started having a conversation about the students that would be eligible for this bridge program if it existed today. And these were some of the quotes. I'm not going to read every single one of them, but I did want to highlight just a couple. One is that Ernesto has a quote up here. I think a program like this would benefit me since I could ease into 2 core classes, and with school hours being from 8:30 to 12, it would allow me to do other things such as work. So we already know, that's on his mind. He wants to send money back home to mom. Also, this next quote from a 12th grade student: currently, the only option I have next year because of my lack of credits is to take the GED or work. I don't qualify for the adult school program, and I would like to continue studying in a school setting, earning grades. And so this student just exactly hit on the imperative for this program is that GED's too hands-off, perhaps, a comprehensive high school is too restrictive. So this really allows that flexibility. So this was invaluable to get some of this feedback that students seemed excited about it. I also just want to note that because the adult school campus is just kind of down the hill from Westmore, we're hoping that these students will still be able to participate in extracurriculars at Westmore if they would like to, like, their sports programs, things like that. So how would this particularly help Ernesto? It's going to follow I think this is funny, a 2x4 schedule, but it's, 2 classes and then in 4 quarters. So they could almost make up just with 2 classes, 2 years of classes. So similar to Jefferson's 4x4, 2 years of classes in a single year. So it's that accelerated program. He's not going to have to wait as long to take certain classes. It's also not going to have to be in all of those elective classes that he doesn't really need, just because he needs some somewhere to be while he's still developing his English skills. We would actually allow him accelerated access to the social science courses. You know, he wouldn't have to wait until he was an ELD 2 level student. The schedule provides a lot of flexibility for a student in his circumstances that wants to work. And really, I think it is important to highlight that embedded supports beyond academics, that even when we were talking, Lisa and I, about that flex time, I know that flex time at some of your school sites is used for primarily like catching up on work or academics. We're also hoping to have just like emotional support groups or other kinds of wellness activities happen during flex, to have just that, a lot of that embedded in. So yeah, I hope I didn't talk too fast, but that is kind of what we're excited to share. And now we can kind of take questions.
Thank you so much for opening up for questions, comments.
Hi. Yes. I think you guys are doing a really cool thing. Like, you should be really proud of yourselves. This is really awesome. And just hearing about it and seeing that this is happening and the improvements that are being made at these schools, and people from other countries are feeling ridiculously more welcome because you guys are here to support them. I do have one question. If you were to do the bridge program, how many students on an estimate do you think would be enrolled within the first year?
That's a very good question. You calculated it actually. So
when I was looking last semester at the amount of students between Jefferson and Westmore that we had who were eligible at that time, we had about 12.
Mm-hmm.
So up to 25.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, because that was just a Jefferson?
That was Jefferson.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it fluctuates, like, you know, it would probably start with some pretty low numbers like that. But I know in San Mateo, when they started this program, they started with a classroom of 7, and now I think they have 50. Yeah.
A lot of.
Because I mean, for some of these students, it will be a choice. Like Ernesto, even actually, there is a pathway with Jefferson's 4x4 schedule to have him complete at Jefferson. If he is okay with, you know, he would probably have to graduate at 19. And for some students, that's just fine. Other students are like, "Ooh, no," you know, or they say, we see a lot of the time students that like, yeah, when they're 17 and a half are like, yeah, I can go till 19. And then it's just, it becomes harder as they go along. So, you know, there'll be some flexibility. We also don't have a really great program currently for like students who are in the situation of being recently immigrated, who like have children at home already or are expecting. And so this program with its flexibilities could also potentially help us with that. So that number would make the numbers fluctuate a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I really like this program, but I have 2 questions for you. So first one is that, like with Ernesto's case, so if you refer back to the schedule, then like is there going to be like any help for college and career exploration? Because there's only, I see like the schedule, there's enrollments.
Yeah. So because we are that bridge to adult school, the counselor that we'll be working with initially is the adult school counselor. And she is really great with like college and career options and explorations. And so hopefully we would be able to utilize our flex time for that. But definitely, I think that is an important focus for them to have. It's certainly on a lot of their minds, is what they're doing after graduation, after hopefully getting that diploma. Did you say you had 2 questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
My second one is like, you mentioned that like students would probably do less more activities if they were, if this program is held in the adult school. So like, since the schedules for Westmore and also the adult school differ, so then how are they supposed to participate?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not going to be every single student that will probably choose to do it, because they probably some of the students might choose to stay, because we will actually have teachers there until 3:30, because they can choose to stay to work on Apex or to work on various other things. And so they may choose then to stay and then go to extracurriculars, or they might go home or go to, fulfill other life obligations. Some of, the students, and I know a lot of students have like younger siblings that they might have to take care of, and then they'd be able to come back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when students complete your program, do they get a diploma from your area, or do they get it as like a continuation of the high school that they initially enrolled in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The pathway is going to actually be quite different, or it's going to be a case by case basis, because some of them will not be eligible for any graduation from they'll have to go to adult school to get the adult school diploma, and then that diploma would come from adult school. In the cases of students that were able to graduate with the CA minimum, they would have a Thornton High School graduation, because that's where this school is going to be housed under, is Thornton. So not the homeschool necessarily that they came from. And then some of them might still end up having to go the GED route. When I spoke of the students who come in with absolutely no credits, and depending on how old they are, their life circumstances, but the hope is that they would still participate in Bridge to build up their English skills and just overall confidence in, some school-based topics, so that they would be able to feel a little bit more confident going into the GED program.
Yes, go ahead.
I really like the program that you guys are doing. I was just wondering if you happen to know how many other districts in the local area are implementing programs like these. And I was also wondering if you were planning on collaborating with any of them to sort of spread this kind of program around.
Yeah. So already we're working with San Mateo Union because we're copying them. and then Sequoia Union came to us and we're like, hey, we heard you're copying San Mateo. Can we copy the copy? And we said, and so we met with them and we talked about what we're doing, and they shared what they're doing. And then Sammy's told me before, she's works in San Mateo. I think there's a school in the East Bay that she's collaborated with and done. So not on the peninsula, but somebody in the East Bay. So yeah, they are growing, and it is really great to have folks to collaborate with for a program like this.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Trustee Tata.
Thank you for all your hard work on this and for always making our new students feel welcome. A backpack may seem like a little thing, but it's really not.
They take picking the colors very seriously.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
We have certain colors, and some go very quickly, and like they contemplate it for a very long time.
Yeah, back in the 80s, my cousins came to live with us. They came from the Philippines, and there were 7 of them, school-age kids. And 3 of them enrolled at Jefferson at the same time, the same grade. They were all different ages. But it was even living in a house full of English speakers, it was a really hard transition for them. And for the little ones, learning vocabulary words that made no sense to them. Like my little cousin said, "What's a campfire?" And I explained to her, it's supposed to be a fun thing. And she didn't understand, because where she came from, they had dirt floors. They lived in a house with dirt floors. So she didn't understand why you would want to stay outdoors and have fun outside like that. So with the Bridge program, this is for next year. Now, you said that there are embedded supports, and does that include social workers, or is that separate?
Yeah, I did forget to mention that by the way, we are, I worked with Vaca when I think it's Vaca. Sorry. I know she's just like, so iconic. She doesn't even need she's just Vaca.
Looks like Cher.
Exactly. Cher.
Adele.
Anyway, about, like, hey, how are we going to work this out and finance this? And she, in her wisdom, found the Learning Recovery Grant.
Wow.
And then because you got to be creative. So that's coming out of the grant. Melissa Ambrose has promised me that if I get this off the ground, she will help to provide an intern. to work in this program. So that's where we would start, at least. You know, I think a lot of this, you know, and partially why we're starting with the grant is that like we kind of have to see like what is the need, what ends up happening with a lot of that, because, you know, perhaps if we find a different need, we'll need
Right.
a different kinds of position, wellness, social worker. It's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dante, and then I'll turn it over.
So I have more of like a concern.
Okay.
So I just want to ask, like, so after these students like graduate, will they have like extra support, like with like getting a job or like, you know, applying for colleges and stuff and like getting like scholarships and all that? Cause like if they need to, like, obviously, you know, Ernesto's trying to send money to his family. Like, how is he going to be able to pay for college too? So like, will there be extra support for that?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the, you know, Lisa Lee works with, you know, the current adult school students, and that's a lot of their concerns, as well as like, you know, the adult school programs even have a lot of, why am I blanking on the word for it? It's like job programs, like certifications and things like that. Like if, and the one that comes to mind is like dental hygienist, right? You know, and so they offer classes and programs for things like that. So they have that. I know our district also has a lot of connections with Skyline College. And so hopefully there would be that partnership there, because they have a lot of resources there that I think, you know, currently we underutilize actually. And that's a partnership that I think could be a lot better.
Trustee Lee?
Yeah, so great presentation all the way around. I want to take it back to the data. I mean, I'm just kudos actually for, you know, seeing how Jeff improved year over year, and then being willing to do something different and rolling it out elsewhere. And that extends to all the other work you've mentioned. What I love is that our district's ethos of trying something different and being creative and being willing to fail is incredible. And I really appreciate the work you're doing to find creative solutions, whether it's coming up with something yourselves, or stealing from somebody else, which is what we should really be doing, replicating what's succeeding elsewhere. So thank you so much. This is really great to be able to take care of the students who really need the support.
Yeah. And shout out to Lisa, as always. She really did a lot of that organization, a lot of that communication with the teachers to make that function. I mean, I take everything from her, even her kids' hand-me-downs, you know, like I was so lucky that my kid was born 4 months after hers, and I can just be like, thank you. You know, and at work I do the same thing, but also I want to acknowledge some of the VPs, you know, Nicole Nozick at Oceana, Ame Seibel at Terra Nova, and then Tina Yee. Especially Tina Yee had to take it on with Lori Collins going back into the classrooms and not having that extra support. And last year it was Mr. Zhao. And so she kind of got like thrown LPAC, and she just dove right in and understood that need for like, okay, we've got to break it up this way. We've got to try these new things. And so I just really appreciate our vice principals really going in on that.
Fantastic work.
I thought you were signaling me that you wanted to talk. I wasn't sure.
Not
No?
at all.
Okay.
I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you, but no, I
Yeah.
didn't have a specific.
Go ahead. I see you waving over there.
Make sure you know I was signaling. So many of my comments, I have no questions, or like Trustee Lee's. But I kind of want to point out that this is not just, you know, education bridge. This is American dream stuff. And so congratulations on making that part of what we do. That's all.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
No, and then my comments are, a lot of my questions were asked by the student trustees. So thank you guys so much for asking very thoughtful questions. The only other question and slight comment I have is like, I'm very appreciative of Thornton and what they did to be encompassing of the high school experience. And so just getting some of that flavor in whatever this program is so that they do get some high school experience. And I don't know if we need to connect them with other schools so they can like go to a dance, go to prom, like all the stuff that is the fun part of being in high school. So I don't know if there's plans for that. If you have any comments on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important because as I mentioned, like some of these students have either seen some things that like, you know, some other adults have never seen or been through. Some of them are already parents, you know, or going to be parents and things like that. So yeah, it is really important to me to be like, okay, I know they have all these pressures, you know, I know, Mr. Villalobos was talking to me about a student just the other day that like is facing maybe dropping out because she needs to increase her work order, hours for a 2-year-old. These are real things, but as much as we can to carve out that time to just be like, you are still a kid and the time is really, it's fleeting. So Baca told me that they are able to still, attend dances, extracurricular things.
That's important. Yeah, because just reading, just the synopsis of whoever Ernesto is, my God.
He's a charmer. Everybody loves Ernesto. I almost want to say his real name just to shout him out, but he doesn't know that I'm doing this. So I will keep him anonymous, but
unbelievable. You know, like you get flack nowadays for letting your teenager drive, like you let them on the bus alone, you know, and so to take a bus across country to get here by themselves and to go through the center by themselves to get here, you know, whatever we can do to support. I will say that I'm also very proud of the district and the work that we're doing to take away the stigma of not being able to speak English. We are very blessed as English speakers. Like I know when I travel to other countries, to remind myself, I'm like, I'm reading. Why can I read? And I'm like, things are in English. You know, we rarely have to do that struggle. And to come somewhere where, you know, you've basically been made, you know, deaf and mute because you can't hear or understand what anyone is saying, and you can't communicate on top of everything else as a child in life. So I'm very happy that not just in this program, but also with the work that we're doing in our other programs for all of our students that don't speak English, that we are treating them like the assets that they are to this district and doing whatever we can to service their needs. So thank you. And if there's any other comments, questions, all right, thank you so much. Thank you. We'll move on to the 2023-2024 mid-year LCAP update, turning it over to Baca.
Oh, so exciting. I have a new name.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, again. So this evening, I will be presenting the mid-year update on the Local Control and Accountability Plan, or the LCAP. So the LCAP, again, is a 3-year goal that describes goals, actions, and expenditures for districts to support student outcomes. Most especially for our students learning English, like what Dr. Robinson talked about, low-income students, and foster youth. So this is the 3rd year of LCAP, and next year will be a start of a new plan. So there is a new requirement by the California Ed Code. Basically, the LEAs, local education agencies, have to present a mid-year update before February 28th. And it needs to include all available goals, expenditures, and metrics. And so the LCAP is really, really long. I have 34 or so slides, but I've compacted them and condensed them. And thank you to Dr. Robinson. She actually took care of 2 of the goals because she talked about them today. So yay. All right, so part of the plan, the requirement is that we present the budget overview for parents. So here is the snapshot of the budget overview. As you can see, 77% of our revenue comes from the local control funding formula. That's about $61 million. And of that $61 million, $3.3 million is generated from the unduplicated count of our low income foster youth and students learning English. And just to highlight, when 3 years ago, we had 37% unduplicated percentage. And this year we are at 39%. So we've actually increased 1% within like year after year. So the first goal is about college and career readiness. And this is the goal with the most action. So please bear with me and feel free to ask clarifying questions. And I also invite executive cabinet to chime in if they have any comments, because this LCAP is encompassing of everything that we do. Okay. And so I will start with the metrics. There are 23 total metrics in goal 1, and green means that the outcome is known and will not change. Yellow means it is in progress, and red means that the metric is unknown or it has been discontinued. And the chart also shows progression of results from the last 3 years. So I'll start with a STAR assessment for English language arts. So this is a fairly new benchmark assessment system that we started in 2021, right after COVID. And essentially, these are standards aligned assessment that is administered 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring. And the goal is to really see how much growth our students have progressed from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. As part of the LCAP, we have to add a desired outcome for that 3rd year. As you can see with this metric, the desired outcome was 75%, and we actually did not meet that goal. However, if you look from year to year to year, we've actually made progress. This next 3 sets of metrics deals with the Special Education Accountability Program, and it is for the least restrictive environment. So it basically says that our students with disabilities have the right to be educated with their peers in a general education setting. And so the first metric is for the least restrictive environment, where the expectation is that at least 52% of the students are enrolled in a general education setting 80% of their day. And we set 52.2 locally as the goal. However, when we first started this, CDE actually said that 60% by 2021 should be in least restrictive setting, 80% or more. And we just felt that that is way too high, too fast, because when I looked at the baseline, when this was first assessed, we were at 25.2%. But if you look at it from last year's data in 22-23, we went up to 50%. And so I want to give, a shout out to our directors of special education, our case managers, our teachers working really hard to ensure that our students are accessing their general education classes. For the second part of the least restrictive environment, the goal is that less than 21.6% of our students are enrolled in general ed setting that is no more than 40%. So more typically, these are our students in the extensive support needs program. The lower the percentage, the better. And we actually met that goal. The next least restrictive environment is about separate school. So these are the students who are attending private schools, residential, or non-public schools. And for that, we did not meet our goal. However, again, we are improving as a district. If you look at all of these metrics, there is a trend. There's a lot that we're not meeting. However, we are making progress. Very slow, but steady progress. The next metric is the 4-year plan completion rate. And this is still in progress. And basically the expectation that all of our students are expected to develop a 4-year plan throughout their high school. And then we actually would like them to let us know too what their plans are after high school. And finally, on this page is the advanced placement course access of grades 10 through 11. And this was put in there and specifically called out specific groups of students who have been underrepresented in advanced placement classes. And as you can see, we have improved the metrics for our African American students, our Hispanic and Latino, our English learner, and also our students with disabilities from the baseline. Again, we did not meet the desired outcome, but there has been some improvements district-wide. The next set of metrics is the advanced placement scores. And this is taken from the equity report by College Board. And the expectation is that our students, our graduating students, 12th grade students, would get at least a score of 3 in one of the AP exams that they took. And this is broken down by high schools. And so as you can see, Jefferson High School has improved over the last 3 years. Oceana pretty much more or less stayed the same from the baseline. Terra Nova, we did not have data for last year. However, there was a decline with the data that we've had. And for Westmore High School, it has decreased a bit. And I just want to call out that since 2021, we've had a 6% increase of students enrolled in advanced placement classes. So that's about 76 students. And the requirements, like what it was in the past, it has eased a little bit. We're getting better at it. We are constantly talking about reviewing our guidelines for advanced placement exams, but this is a great, increase of number of students. For the Smarter Balance scores, last year, I've gone over this during my last report, and same thing for math, so I won't go over that. For the physical fitness test, we no longer have to report their scores. For the last few years, they're only collecting participation points or participation rates. The English learner progress indicator on the dashboard. So this was 47.8% of our students made ELPI. Again, we didn't meet the desired outcome, but there has been progress. And finally, on this page is the 4-year graduation cohort rate. As a district, we declined a bit. However, for our Hispanic Latino students, we have improved. Same thing with our homeless students from 70% to 89%. And also our students with disabilities, we also improved. Last page is the graduation rate for Thornton High School. More or less, their graduation rate have pretty much stayed the same. They were identified at the beginning of the LCAP as needing comprehensive support and improvement, and now they've exited that status. A through G rate is something to be really proud of because we have really increased our A through G rate. Our desired outcome was 50%. And from last year's class of 2023, there were 55% A through G eligible students. For English learners, there's also an increase. We saw 27.8 when the outcome was 20%. The desired outcome was 20%. For African American students, 33.3% met A through G. And our students with disabilities, also about 19% met A through G rate. For dual enrollment, another area that have expanded. As you can see, we were at 21.9% as the baseline, and last year, 31% have access to college courses, meaning that they're actually getting credits when they're actually getting college credits while they are in high school. Several of our career technical education classes are dual enrollment classes. So for instance, Ms. Manzel's dance production and dance composition, they are dual enrollment classes. The culinary program at Oceana High School, they're also dual enrollment classes. Okay. The state CTE pathway completion, same thing. We have expanded thanks to Ms. Shreve and her team. State Seal of Biliteracy, an area that I've been working on lately to ensure that we expand the access to not just students in the French classes and the Spanish classes, but I am making exams available in other languages so that students can take the test and opt in and be eligible for the State Seal of Biliteracy. Golden State Seal Merit Diploma, we have had lots of improvement on that. The college going rate, this is from the National Student Clearinghouse, and last year, 67% of our students matriculated to either a 2-year or a 4-year college right after high school. And what I've noticed is that even though our percentage pretty much remained the same, students that are attending 4-year college has actually gone up, and students attending a 2-year college has gone down. Work-based learning is a fairly new metric that is really hard to track and measure right now. And so I've been working with Ms. Shreve, with Ms. Shives from the data processing, with just everybody to make sure that we are tracking and we take into account who qualifies for the work-based learning college and career indicator. The other thing that I want to bring up that in the next in the future board meeting, I will be bringing the work-based learning board policy to see if we can give credits for students who are enrolled in the work-based learning program. So if they are in internships, if they are in the bridge program and they are working, I would like to be able to give them credits towards graduation. So this is actually a common work in the San Mateo County area, and they're giving us the language and the proposal to make sure that we give credits for our students. And the next one is the college and career dashboard indicator. And the expectation is that we're at 50%. And as you can see, we're very, very close, or 49.9. So this is great. And the Renaissance math is very similar to the STAR ELA, but it's in the math portion, and we are not done at the end of the year. So this is still in progress. And finally, the FAFSA, or the California Dream Act completion rate. And the expectation of the state is that 100% of our seniors fill out the FAFSA or the CATA. And last year, 70% of our students completed the FAFSA, which is actually, it may not seem high, but it was much higher than what it was before. So now those are the metrics, and we've achieved really great progress because of the actions and services that we've put in place. So for goal 1, if you actually look at the LCAP, there are 13 major actions that I grouped here. Within the 13 major actions, there are 103 strategies that I'm not going to go over. But if you would like to see what they are, actually link them on the first slide. There is a link at the bottom with like the full report with all of the actions and services. So the way I classify them is that whether we are making adequate progress or we've completed the action, those are all the way to the left-hand side. The middle one is gradual progress or inconsistent implementation. And finally, little to no progress or we've discontinued the action. So technology, instructional coaching program, constructing meaning, our college and career tools, our CTE program, ELD program, I feel like that has been really going strong and steady. And we have the right support and bandwidth, and we're just keeping it going. So we're doing really well in those areas. The middle section, however, we're making progress, but still inconsistent implementation. So I'm going to couple the curriculum alignment benchmark assessments with the professional learning communities, because those are all tied together where teachers are working together, looking at their units and making sure that students and our teachers know what the standards and skills are. So these are like the blue sheets that our principals have been talking about. And we as a district have introduced this concept, starting with the professional learning community in 2012, long time ago. And then it kind of died down, thinking that, oh, nothing, we don't really need to do this. Things changed, life changed. And then it was brought back in 2018. I believe there was a professional learning community board meeting that was held, like a Saturday board session with Eric Twaddell. Mm-hmm. And so we brought that back up. And then from then we're improving. And it wasn't until 2022 when it finally clicked and our course alike teams are meeting using the collaboration time now to really look at their units and making sure that they are aligned. The other thing that helped is the structural changes that we've put in place. So now all of the schools have a weekly collaboration, and this has really helped us move this work forward. And I'm also happy to see a lot of teachers requesting these times to meet. The next area that is making gradual progress, great progress, but we're not just there yet, is for the universal design for learning. So this is really an instructional framework where the expectation is that learning is not one size fits all, that learning happens at different times, different ways. And so what we would like to do is make the classroom really more accessible by giving multiple ways in presenting materials, and also asking the students to present in different ways that they've demonstrated mastery in what they're learning. And so what we've done is that under the leadership of Dr. Robinson, we have site UDL teams that have met a couple of times this year. And part of what we've done is that we've done classroom walkthroughs. So they walked in their school site and visited classrooms, but they also swapped schools and observe teaching and learning in other school sites as well. The district team also went to all of the school sites to observe instruction happening in the classroom. Our goal is to see what are the needs for each of the school site in order for the whole school site to really know and understand what this framework is. Do you need, what type of professional learning do you need? Do you need, a time release or whatever it is that they will come up with? We're actually meeting this Thursday to talk about the needs assessment for universal design for learning. Special education program. Lots and lots of improvement from when I started, but there's still a lot of work to do, especially in the areas of instruction. Modern classroom is a very interesting concept. It's another instructional way of teaching students. And like what I said, learning is not one size fit all. So this is basically kind of like blended learning where the teacher records herself and creates like short teacher videos on lessons So instead of being in front of a classroom in front of everyone, the teacher records herself and she asks the students to review the recording before the classroom, before class. And the teacher would actually meet with smaller groups of students or individual students and teach them or reteach or advance them and move them forward, depending on where they are. They take little quizzes called mastery-based quizzes that if they master that unit, they can move on to the next lesson. And so there's a lot more like attention to really what the students need. So if they have learning gaps, that's what the teacher will address. And this is in the middle because it takes some time to get used to. It takes planning time. And so several teachers at Westmore High School are doing this right now. And it's, you know, I've heard many great things about it. And finally, Thornton High School, they've made progress, but one area that is an area of focus for them is attendance. When students show up, they are engaged, they love it, they feel like they belong. However, there's still a lot of students not coming to school, and we really need to figure out why. Lastly, the little to no progress is our student success team procedures. We've started meeting as a district, and people started getting sick. Things happen, just bandwidth capacity. We haven't had really a chance to meet again together and solidify this as a district. Each of the school site has a process, but what we would like to do is, again, develop a district-wide system. Here's the expenditure. And as you can see, we're a little off. And the difference is actually from Mr. Meyer's Wi-Fi refresh network that is going to be happening in the summer. Mm-hmm. That's why it's off right now, but it's not too bad. Mm-hmm. Goal 2. Well, before I go to goal 2, are any questions or comments?
Do you have any questions or comments on goal 1?
Okay. All right. Goal 2 is about creating a safe and meaningful, supportive, and inclusive space for all students. Goal 2 metrics, right there, is a chronic absenteeism rate. So if we look at the baseline, this was pre-COVID, it was about 16% district-wide. We're not there yet. But if you look at the last 3 years, we are improving. This has been an area of focus for Ms. Basuino in really trying to figure out like why are our students not attending. We know that, you know, some of them are out because of being sick from COVID, but we really, you know, for some, we just really want to know the root causes for these chronic absenteeism. Suspension rate, we're pretty much back to the same percentage as the pre-COVID percentage, about 3.8, 3.9. If you look at DataQuest, which is the CDE's website, it may seem like our suspension rate is not so much, but higher than the state and in San Mateo County. And that's because what they post there is grades K through 12. If we really look at 9 through 12th grade, our suspension rate is lower than the state and the county. So the state suspension rate is 4.7% and the county is 4.1. The suspension rate for our African American students have decreased. For Pacific Islanders, it has increased. English learners decrease. Students with disabilities increased, but just a little bit. And then Hispanic has increased. Expulsion rate, still 0% in the last 3 years. For the school climate survey, this is results for students, parents, and staff. For our students, we met that goal, but participation rate for our parents, especially, is an area that we need to work on. The percent of students served by the wellness team is still in progress. This is just midway, and my guess is it's going to go up. And then finally, the percent of conferences held with parents and guardians due to absenteeism is still to be determined. So basically the expectation, like through A2A, is that our school site with their staff meet with the families and talk about the importance of attending school every day. So this is how it's broken down with actions and services. For our community resilience model, we've had lots of professional learning opportunities for this, and also Melissa Ambrose and our wellness counselors are very versed into this, who's been helping our school sites implement this. Our integrated mental health program doing really, really well, outstanding job. And then finally, our staff, our vice principals who oversee attendance and discipline are also doing a great job. The area that we need to continue to focus on is our social emotional learning curriculum. This was rolled out during COVID, and we're still trying to find a sweet spot on where we would be able to integrate this. And right now it's sounding really, really good because what we're using Project Wayfinder. They are able to customize the lesson depending on what the needs of the school. So for instance, I believe there was an issue with bullying at one of the school sites. The wellness counselor actually talked with Wayfinder and say, let's curate lessons that is specifically addresses bullying. And so we are looking forward to continuing with that. Training on community building, implicit bias, restorative circles, another area that we need to focus on and continue providing training for. And finally, monitoring student attendance. Lastly, the area for many reasons that, just been little progress because of the complexity of it is going through all the parts for the restorative discipline matrix. We've had new vice principals and I'm gonna pass it.
We like the document. Monica and I worked on it for, I don't know how many years. But where things kind of stalled is how accessible it is. It's a pretty daunting document. But I do, first of all, we changed it from the solution matrix.
Good save. And but I do constantly revisit it with our vice principals and encourage them to slow down. And I get it. I was there. You got a lot going on and you just want to check some boxes. And I just remind them of all the pitfalls I made. And when I get angry parents or things don't go right, I generally look at myself and go, well, what did I do? And it's because I tried to move too fast. And I think that's what's super important about this product is it does force you to slow down and just get to the root of the issue first. You don't need to make decisions right away. So I think we like it. It's just, it's not very accessible. It's not user friendly is what I mean.
Thank you. So the expenditures, very, very close to our budgeted and estimated actual. Questions on goal 2? Comment? Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just one comment. I'm just still appalled at the suspension rate, when we're looking at the disaggregated data. And, we just gotta keep working to get that down. It's just, it just sticks out.
Thank you for that. Goal 3 is our equity goal. And to the right is our equity lens purpose statement. And again, this is the tool that Executive Cabinet has developed. And it's the set of questions that we ask when we make decisions to make sure that we are being equitable. The metrics for goal 3 is really needs a lot of work. It's been challenging to find like an authentic way to really measure equity at this point. So when we first started, I chose a lot of the metrics from our significant disproportionality plan so that it is aligned. But what had happened is that we had to pick about 80 students district-wide to follow and track. We had to track their test scores. We had to track their discipline referrals. And what happened is that students left, they graduated, and tracking them just got harder and harder. So the numbers right now from that 80 students or so, I believe we're down to about 20 students left. And when we track this, we use Data Zone. It is our assessment management system, data management system. And when we migrated to the cloud, when our student information system migrated to the cloud, it stopped syncing the information. And so we have been working with them for I want to say close to a year now and trying to figure out the syncing issue that we are having. We are not the only district that had this problem. The districts that transition into the migrated hosting is having issues too with Data Zone. And so my hope, I believe we're really, really close to resolving the issue, is that we would be, the students would be tracked much easier than before. So with this, the staff equity survey participation rate and then the student rate, what we would like to do eventually is align the surveys and change it, not just the participation rate, but also like, what are they saying really? So the essence of equity more than the participation rate. So I'll be working with Superintendent Presta and National Equity Project in making sure that we have something that measures equity. I believe we talked about the equity walkthrough and that we will be establishing, we'll be using Nicole Anderson's walkthrough, and we will start that. Did you want to say anything?
No, thank you.
Okay.
You're doing great.
All right. So for the actions and strategies, our ethnic studies curriculum is going strong. So that's going as planned. The gradual progress or implementation is our anti-racism education and training. So we have been working with Courageous Conversation since 21-22. We started with our administrators, and now we have our site equity team, and there are 55 staff members from different school sites that are part of this equity team. We also have been working with Grading for Equity since 21-22, and we've seen lots of great progress from that work. So basically, our teachers have been trying out equitable grading principles in their classrooms and see if students are more motivated in the classroom, if their grades are more accurate reflection of what they're really learning. And I just want to share something that I heard from one of the teachers who changed her grading scale from 50% to 100%. And what she said is that her students are more motivated now than ever to do well because they know that they're able to catch up. Also, I looked at the F rate of this teacher before the PD and after the PD, and there was an 8% decline of students getting F from what it was before to where it is now. So there has been improvements. For the LGBTQ plus education, we had Dana Johnson talk to us during the Welcome Back meeting, but I know one of the areas that we still need to do is community education. And finally, the equity task force, we need to convene that. And my assumption is that from the equity team, we will gather groups of folks as an equity task force to advise the board and make recommendations. And the this one is really discontinued, which is the implementation of our significant disproportionality plan. As far as the expenditure, again, still very, very close to what was budgeted. Any questions? Goal 4, Dr. Robinson already talked about this, is about the college and career indicator. We were at 18.8%, which is low. And just looking at the range from the California Department of Education, even the highest we would get when we have the color next year, because our starting point is 19%, would be yellow. Yeah. So we wouldn't receive a green even if we, get the highest score, but it would still be an improvement. So I won't go over that since Dr. Robinson went over that, but for the expenditures, again, it's still fairly close. Goal 5 is the intake process for students learning English. Dr. Robinson also went over that. She talked about the metrics, and I believe we're doing a great job in our English language development program. And what is still needs to be done is the bridge program. We did not have any budgeted costs and estimated actual on this because everything is embedded. Lastly is our second to the last, is our special education goal. We have to have this goal because we were under differentiated assistance because 3 years ago, our students with disabilities received a red in 2 of the priorities. What I put there is the most current dashboard results for our students learning or students with disabilities. And as you can see, only priority 4 is where our students' disabilities receive a red. And so we exited from the differentiated assistance. And here are the metrics. And one of the things, again, there's been so much more improvement for our special education program. And I want to just highlight the number of co-teaching sections that we have offered. So we have basically doubled our co-teaching sections, and it's showing a lot of improvement in the academic outcomes of our students with disabilities. Goals, actions, and strategies. These are the things that still need to be looked at, which is really more of a transcript review, a careful transcript review. Our support in general education classes. So we've had, paraprofessional supports. Also tutoring, we need extra tutoring. And then supplemental materials for extensive support needs courses. It is brand new, so our teachers need support in implementing that. Here are the expenditure we've overspent. And the reason is that the materials for the extensive support needs, we bought 3 years worth of materials instead of 1 year because it saved us the money. Lastly, this is the maintenance goal. Basically, it's standards operation of what we are doing. And it includes our facilities inspection tool, which is good. Our goal is exemplary, but we're doing pretty well. The ineffective teacher rate, basically these are teachers that are not fully credentialed. They are on permits or waivers. Out of field teacher rate is basically if there is something to do with being miscredentialed, also like misassignment. Inexperienced teacher rate is to be determined because it is a much harder data to gather. And it's basically teachers that have less than 2 years of experience. And so what I really would need to do is when did they really start teaching and having that experience, not just when they started with us, but when did they really start teaching with a full credential. And so I'll be working with Ms. Lujan to help me with that data. Certificated staff retention rate We met this 90% is our goal, and 90% of our staff returned. Same thing with our administrators. 90% is pretty high when I put it up there, but hey, we met it. California Parent Survey, again, still working on it. And then finally, the Communication Effectiveness Feedback Survey, which Mr. Warden gives out at the end of the year, and see how effective we are with communication. Again, adequate progress in our base program, safe and clean schools, our induction service, PD opportunities, standard aligned materials, and site-based allocation. Area still need to focus on is to make sure that we hire appropriately credentialed and retain appropriately credentialed high quality staff, increase student voice, improve communication, and then tutoring for unduplicated students. And this is our budgeted and estimated actual. So still very, very close. And that's pretty much it.
That's it.
Sorry.
Comprehensive. I can.
I don't know if there's anyone
Change
else
it.
have any closing comments?
I'm teasing.
Yes, hours and hours of work. I will say I have tons of questions, but I don't want to keep us here until very, very late. So I may circle back with you or maybe no. And I know that we started this conversation during our work study that we talked about some of the things too. And we were gathering some of the feedback, so may send that to you as well for some follow-up. But yeah, this is a whole lot of work and it's a lot of information to go over and digest, and then also to compartmentalize and report out on. Because it's essentially the school district. Again, we're just the whole school district and what we're doing with all of our budget. So, and we're like, and you do that in 45 minutes. It's like explain the whole school district. That's a heavy task, a heavy lift. So, thank you for the report. And I started reading over the weekend and got through it. I'm still trying to finish kind of going through it and getting it all straight in my head so that I can ask appropriate questions. So I think for me, this was, and the reason why I didn't ask a lot of questions, this is just kind of hear what you have to say, and then hopefully we continue the conversation moving forward. So
I believe we have a study session on April 20th.
Yeah. So between now and April, having this mid-year really, as board members, taking a deep dive so we can have a really good conversation about feedback and direction. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, which is our comprehensive school safety plans. Bring it over to Ms. Besseria.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So what we have attached here are our public versions of our comprehensive school safety plans. Our district needs to bring these plans before the board before March 1st. We talked about the internal plan in closed session, kind of reviewed some things. The public plan will be posted on the site's websites, and they just include information regarding all our procedures to make sure that schools are safe, like child abuse reporting, suspension and expulsion procedures, discrimination and harassment policies, procedures for safe ingress and egress, hate crime reporting, and then, of course, all our Big Five response procedures. So I believe you all had a chance to look at that. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Opening up for any questions or comments on our safety plans for each of the schools. No? All right. Well, thank you so much for the work. I will say that, we take care of our community's kids for an extended period of time. And I know like when I was a parent during the school year, my kids would spend more time at school than they would physically with me, a lot of times with work. And so we take safety very seriously. And I'm happy that the work that the county did to get the big five and get us moving, especially unfortunately with the world that we live in, that we have to think and talk about some of the things and the false alarms, thankfully, that we've experienced, that we're hopefully that the plans are in place so that we have adequate response regardless of what happens, and that school is a safe place for all of our students. So thank you for the work.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to thank Ms. Besuino for always putting our students first in everything she does. This is a lot of work, and I know you put a lot into it, care very much. I think that comes from growing up in this district and being a principal in this district and having a really strong history here. And I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, unless there are any other comments or questions? All right. Moving on to our action items. The first item is the delegate assembly ballot for subregion 5B, which is us. Turning over to Superintendent Presto.
I do not have my agenda right in front of me.
Oh, it's okay, that's
Essentially,
fine.
you need to vote on the three candidates, all of whom I believe you all know.
Yes.
And you received their backgrounds.
Yes. So unless there's any comments or questions, can we get a motion to approve the recommendation to vote for all three of the candidates on the ballot?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Well, thank you. Next item is resolution number 2023-2024/8. Oh my God, so many glasses. This is for the sale of our general obligation bonds from the 2020 election Measure Z. Turning it over to Ms. Van Ramport.
Thank you, President Salahuddin. Good evening, everyone. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing the sale of bond funds to cover our bond projects that we've talked about in multiple meetings leading up to this. We would authorize the sale of $60,250,000 worth of funds to for the planning and construction of the Jefferson High School gym, pool, theater, and other district construction projects. Our goal in issuing these funds is, of course, to make sure we're not issuing funds that we don't need, but also to try to stabilize the tax rate for our taxpayers. And so this would not increase taxes. It would just keep it the same as other bonds fall off.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I don't know if there's any comments or questions.
Yeah, no, actually, that was actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering why that specific amount. So that makes sense.
Okay. So, if it's okay, I would love a motion to approve the authorization.
Move to approve resolution number 2023-2024/8 for the GO bonds for 2020 election.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you so much. Moving on now to resolution 2023/2024-2024/9, directing preparation of the 24-25 annual report of the JUHSD Maintenance Assessment District, turning it back over to Ms. Van Ramport.
Thank you. This resolution before you is an annual item that authorizes SCI Consulting Group to prepare our annual report. This will allow us to continue to receive the maintenance assessment district funds that amount to about $350,000 annually.
Okay, any comments or questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve resolution 2023-2024/9.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. And now moving on to consideration of future agenda items. Have anything they would like to add to the agenda? Nope. All right. So moving on to adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
In a second. Like,
On that one? On that
I don't think no one wanted to
There's a
say
delay.
that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.